where after a session, players were prompted, it's like, okay, two things. One, here's like the three things you could gain. And they could pick one. The only thing they have to do is justify it with something that happened during the session, effectively like contributing to the world building, contributing to the narrative. So in Discord, you said, have you ever given a feat to a player instead of a level or an item, likely as a reward? When would be good times to do that? How would you decide between doing so versus other rewards or buffs? It's a really good question. I Not very often. I don't think I've used feats as much as I probably could, even though I do have like a very high level concept of a complete alternative. And maybe this is sort of what you're alluding to. I don't know what you use for your games, but I've got sort of sketches in place for a complete alternative to leveling entirely. And only because since I do milestone leveling, we finish an arc and then everybody levels up. And the extension of that, the natural extension of that, is that everybody kind of gets in the flow of that and wants to try to like tie their level up to like the narrative somehow. Like, oh, well, as a result of this or that. And I love that. I love that. I love that. And I think characters really, or players really like that too, because it makes everything kind of feel in sync. It's like, well, I bet there's a way. I bet there's a way. Like if we look at if I was to sit down and analyze like what happens in a level up and break it down to its component pieces. And if they level up to like level 5, and even though I'm doing milestone, that's going to take like 4 or 5 sessions, probably one of those things could be given to them each session.
Mm.
And like it becomes almost like a level up tree at that point of like, and now it can directly be affected by what happened in the session, right? Where it's like, and I wouldn't necessarily want it to be on me. So like imagine if there was a way, maybe cards or maybe a simple like a grid, like a almost kind of like a point buy type of system, or even something digital, where after a session, players were prompted, it's like, okay, two things. One, here's like the three things you could gain, and maybe that's like an additional wild shape because that's part of this next level up tree, or maybe it's a feat, like you're saying, or maybe it's something else, and they could pick one. The only thing they have to do is justify it with something that happened during the session, effectively like contributing to the world building, contributing to the narrative, in I think like a really interesting way. And then it'd be fun because everybody likes to like advance their character, and we could do it with items, we could do it with stuff, and little developments here and there. But that would be kind of really going in on it and saying we're gonna directly tie what happens in a session to character progression, or not character progression, but like level up progression.
It's I think my reason I was thinking about it was kind of sometimes you see, oh, there's this feat I really want,
Mm-hmm.
but like you're never gonna get it because when it comes time to level up, there's only a few times where you actually get to elect
Right.
getting a feat.
Yep.
And when you get there, it's like, well, do you get a fun feat or do you just get an ability bonus? You know,
Sure.
because on paper, usually often it's better. And then, of course, because it's tied to your everything in your class is tied to your ability score. It's like, yeah, you actually do see a sizable change improvement
Mm-hmm.
from when you do that.
Well, and feats can be like feats feel so definitive, right? More so than almost anything else. Like it's changing scores directly sometimes, and it's giving new abilities in a way that, like, if you tie it to a weapon could be lost or damaged or swapped out or sold or whatever. But you can't take away alert. That's just a thing somebody has. Um, no item that they have to attune to. They don't have to manage those slots. That's just they have that forever. I wonder if there's maybe if there was a mechanic in the game, or a mechanic paired with a narrative, but the mechanic piece would be swapping feats. The narrative piece would be, what if there was a justification in the world that periodically would let you basically like it's like a modification. Like I think that's almost like a Blade Runner esque, like you're taking on mods or something, or like Cyberpunk, but like a different mutation, like that you could get rid of a feat and swap it out with something else. That could be kind of interesting because, like you're saying, like part of what I feel like you're speaking to is like you don't get to really try them out. Maybe you want to do this other one, but that feels like too big a decision, so you can't really afford to. Because what if it's bad? It's not so good that you have to have it, but you wouldn't say no to trying it out.
And I feel like oftentimes when I'll take a feat, it's because I want to see the character have that feature, right, of them
Mm-hmm.
in the world. Um, and then it makes sense to have that happen with when they change in the world.
Sure.
Now, usually when it's at level up, it's like, okay, next time it comes relevant, then I'll have a fun scene about why I now have this ability or whatever.
Sure.
As a player, I usually enjoy trying to fit those things in because
Totally.
it's a little bit of character progression, story, a little bit of spotlight.
Do you think it'd be too much if that was going back to the other idea I was talking about? Would that be too much if there was something like that every session? Obviously, they'd be smaller, so those justifications might be easier. But every once in a while, I imagine amongst those three, one of those choices would be a feat. In which case, session by session, that'd be an easy choice, right? That's a huge upgrade.
Yeah. Well, and I think if you could as a player, it's like I want this feat. Hey, talk to the DM. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
is there a way do you think we could work where my character gets this? You
Sure.
know, and
Yeah.
then have a scene planned where that. Well,
Totally.
the DM would plan the scene. Maybe they wouldn't know when it would happen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Um,
there's sort of a wink and a nod. Everybody knows what's going on. Yeah.
exactly. But then it definitely boosts their power more
Mm-hmm.
than a level would. I mean, and
Depending on how it's implemented. Yeah.
it's like getting a magic item, right? It's just
Yeah.
when
It would really take ironing out because I imagine if you did a piecemeal, like if you did it by a tree, like I'd have to. It'd be really interesting to go back because if I looked at a couple of my campaigns right now are over 100 sessions long, right? I think one of them's approaching 200 sessions long, or maybe 150. I'd have to look. But to look at a game like that and say, okay, across these like 17, 18 levels, they'll probably have gone through before they finish the game. Because even a feat has usually a few things. Even that would be broken down. I don't think a feat would make sense in a progression every session type of thing. Because it would be like, but if you totally went in on certain things and not other things, you could create like a really kind of a character weighted entirely for strength. Let's say you could just take all of those benefits as you go and nothing else, but you'd probably be pretty unstoppable. So maybe there'd have to be some extra balancing there, I bet, so it didn't get silly. But I don't know, something maybe I'll try it out sometime. Some lo-fi version of it with like cards or something, or like some sort of simple tree, and see what people think. But thanks for the question. Interesting stuff.
thanks for
I've been like psyched that people actually responded without
going through it.
me prompting to just like, oh sweet, now I've got some questions. That's helpful. I've got to like pace myself so I don't just gobble them all up at once.
So what's the one you're painting now?
It's a little gearbox that is going to go on the wall. Something I kind of forgot that I wanted, and it maps to something that the party can do in the one shot. And so I figured I'd build a little visible cue for it. So it's meant to kind of look like a handle that turns a crank, kind of sticking out of the stone wall. Because I just can't get my fill of tiny details on this project. Got to do more, more, more.